lights a little bit. Can you get one of those off?
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story. Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war's over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. They said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. He said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule. Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, They could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them? He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees. The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer. God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when hit had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned a song. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
Dave, why don't you come on up?
Looks white?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dates are about to be white.
Probably use the most area. I'm busy with my hands.
There you go.
All right. My name is Dave Roberts. I am founding of the Ohio State Drill Assembly. We created that assembly in June of 2020. And we started it on the 15th of March. Does anybody know what happened around the 15th of March?
Shut the country down. Oh, 2020.
2020. Prohibition. So it was ironic that we started the assembly right at the start of the COVID lockdown and masks and all that mandates. So anyhow, we have built a state assembly, Ohio State Drill Assembly, as well as 22 county committees of safety. And I'm going to get into that in a couple minutes. But first I want to get into some things, like for instance, that video just played. What era of time did that take place? Anybody? That wasn't in the Revolutionary War.
War of 1812?
1812, that was the War 1812. We were already established as a country known as the United States of America, okay? And we had, at 1812, we had approximately 17 states at that point, okay? Or no, 17, yeah, it was 17 states. So, how many here are U.S. citizens? Show your hands. Just show your hands. U.S. citizens. Stand pride, U.S. citizens, how many? Okay. So about the majority of you are, all right? I got news for you. None of you are U.S. citizens, okay? What you are an American. You were born on the continent of America. You're indigenous to this country, all right? You're not a U.S. citizen. To be a U.S. citizen, you have to be born in Washington, D.C. Let's show all hands. Anybody born in Washington, D.C.? No, nobody? Okay. So you're either born or you work for the federal government. That's the only way you can be a U.S. citizen. So then the next question is, how many people pay income tax? You guys know that paying income tax is voluntary? It's not required by law, all right? And it's real simple to not pay income tax. I started my journey in 1985. And how I started my journey was the IRS came and took $14,000 out of my bank account, and I sued them for grand theft. And in the process of going through the court case, which was a 6-month ordeal, I figured out through a lady called Lynn Meredith out of Huntington, California, and she had 2 books. One, How to Cook a Vulture, and the other one is A Vulture in Eagle Clothing. And those 2 books gave me the tools necessary to figure out how to remove myself from the system. Remove myself from, another word is the matrix, okay? And I have not paid income tax in 35 years, okay? I drive a car, it's out there in the parking lot, and it has no license plates, it has no tags on it, okay? I do not have a driver's license. And I've been doing that for over a year now. And I show people how they can do that process. Okay, so getting into what you guys came here tonight, and I want to go through some things that our founding fathers gave us, okay? They gave us gifts. Now, I was going to start off with, how many branches of the government are there? Anybody?
4.
One's unelected though.
Okay.
Three. We're taught 3.
Yes, you are. You're taught 3. I'm okay. There's actually 5 branches of the government. Okay? Anybody know where those branches are located? We know 3 of them are where?
DC.
In the Constitution. It's in this book here. There's 3 of them. Okay? Where is the other 2 located? Anybody?
Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights. They're in the Bill of Rights. Now, why would our founding fathers put it in the Bill of Rights? He put them there to protect you from tyranny. That's why all of you are in this room tonight. Because you guys are tired of the oppression, you're tired of the government oversight, and you're tired of them telling you what you're only allowed to do, what you're only allowed not to do, and if you misstep, you end up in jail. We, under the Constitution, have the right to remedy, okay? We have the right to bring a grievance before the government to receive remedy. Guess what we're not getting? Remedy, okay? So moving through that, the 2 branches of the government are in the Bill of Rights, and the first one is in the First Amendment. And our founding fathers put it right up there, right in our face. And if you turn to, wait a second. Oh, I overstepped it. Okay. If you turn to page 21, it says there that Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble. Okay? Now, when they were talking about assemblies in this book here, they were not talking about you guys getting placards and posters and going down the street corner and rah, 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 we want our rights back. Okay? That's not what they're talking about. The assemblies are a solid group of people like yourself coming together equally, with an equal voice. Nobody with any more superiority, no leader, but all of you coming together equally to talk and converse over what your grievances are, and then come to a conclusion of how to come about a solution and hold the government accountable for their actions. All right? So, the assembly is a lawful group of people, and I have brought the process with me. I've already given it to Michael, of how you guys settle on the land, okay? And you have to settle on the land, because where is everybody right now?
In the sea.
They're in the sea, okay? You know, when you guys were at the hospital as little babies, what did they do?
They delivered you from the birth canal.
They took your footprint and transferred it on a piece of paper. So they captured your soul
A piece of the placenta, too.
and transferred it out to sea. Okay? This is the metaphoric processes that they have done upon us, and they made your mother a witness to the birth. Any mothers here witness their own child's birth? Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So the assembly is not a group of people that go out and protest. It's a structure of people coming together as the first branch of the government. Why the first branch of the government? Any ideas?
Powers in the people.
The powers in the people. The powers in the people. Our founding fathers knew that. That's why it's the First Amendment as the Bill of Rights. It's right in our face. Okay? And then the second most powerful tool that our founding fathers gave us is in the 7th Amendment. Okay? And there was a teacher, I heard a rumor that this teacher was teaching the Bill of Rights to their class, and they came across the 7th Amendment, and they said, this is the most worthless amendment in the whole Bill of Rights. Do you understand that the 7th Amendment is the most powerful amendment in the entire Bill of Rights? Okay? And I'm going to read it to you. It's on page 23. It says, in suits of common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. Now, what is significant about that paragraph? Anybody?
Void statutory.
Mm-mm.
The rules of common law.
Because it's still our
No
voice,
court,
we the
no,
people.
no court.
No court can overturn the indictment brought down by a common law court, a court of record, a common law grand jury. When a common law grand jury of 25 men and women come together, that's what it takes to form a common law grand jury, comes together and they bring either a presentment or an indictment, that can never, ever, ever be overturned by any court of law, including the Supreme Court.
Are we talking in the context of both civil and criminal?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in common pleas court, or whatever you guys call your courts up here in Ohio, they're common pleas, appellate courts, that all courts are civil courts. Did you guys know that? You know, they bring criminal charges against you,
It's all equity.
but it's all equity. You're in maritime law, not admiralty law, you're in maritime law, and it's all in commerce. Do you know who the highest law enforcement officer of the state is?
Sure.
No. No. We're going to make that happen, but that's not the highest law enforcement officer in the state at the moment.
It's not the Attorney General, it's not.
Nope, it's not the Attorney General. You guys ready? Secretary of State. Secretary of State. Because all commerce flows to where? Through the Secretary of State. He delegates licenses and registrations, and he controls commerce in your state. He controls the vote too, by the way.
She.
Or she, okay, I don't know what.
I'm just letting you know, sir.
Yeah.
You can have her.
All right, so with those two tools, I'm going to go into something in the Declaration of Independence, because I feel that this is something very important that all of you need to understand the solidness of that. And we're going to be on the second paragraph. The first paragraph is excellent, but the second paragraph is what gives us the authority to do what we need to do as a people. Now, something that was never covered in high school was the fact of what the Declaration of Independence was all about. Because when I went to high school, they told us that it was a document that our founding fathers created, which allowed us to become Americans, okay? That is the tippy tip of the iceberg, okay? The Declaration of Independence, there's 4 major things that took place with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The first point is that when our founding fathers took the quail pin and dipped it in the inkwell and signed their name at the bottom of that document, every man and woman became sovereign, free people. Sovereign, free people. And with the signing of that document, we also became a country unto ourselves. You understand that before the signing of this document, we were all subjects of King of England. Do you understand? We were serfs. We were nobodies, okay? And the United States was ran by a corporation. Do you understand? The colonies were corporate. There were corporations, individual corporations, under contract with the king. And do you understand, when we signed this document, our founding fathers signed this document, we declared war on England. You guys get it? We slapped the face of the king. How dare you? How dare you slap my face? Who do you think you are? Do you understand that every monarchy in the world chose us as a target, okay? And we're still here. Why do you think that is? I mean, Michael talked about it earlier. They sat down and taught, they prayed for 2 hours before they even put any pen to paper. They prayed for 2 hours before they put any pen to paper when they were writing this document. Do you think the divinity might be involved in this? Do you think the divinity might still be involved in this? Okay? Absolutely, because that's why you're in this room. That's why you're here. You know something's wrong and you know something isn't right. Okay? So the third clause is that this document is the first time in mankind's history ever to be created. The Declaration of Independence. You guys aware of that? You see how unique this document is? And then the last clause, it's never been duplicated. Any country in the world has never duplicated the Declaration of Independence. Because the bad guys don't want this duplicated. They don't want what's going on in this country to expand beyond the boundaries of America. Okay? Now, getting into the second paragraph, it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are what? Created equal. And they're equal on the land. That means every man, no monarchy has power over you. No judge, even though they sit in a higher station in the courtroom, has any power over you. They're equal to you. Same with the police officer. They're equal. It's an illusion that they present to you that they have higher authority over. They have none. Okay? I wish they had more time.
You're good. Yeah.
This is common law. Okay? This is common law. Right here. We got God. And God created the universe. And then he created earth. This is in Genesis. And then he created everything on the earth, above the earth, and in the earth. Correct?
Correct.
And then he created man. Right? So he created man. And then he what? Gave man dominion over earth. Correct?
Correct.
Well, when he gave man dominion over earth, did that allow man to have creative rights over God? No. Okay? So pay attention. So what did man create? Man created governments. They created law. Man's law. Okay? They created like law groups, teachers associations, agriculture associations, but they're all associations created by whom? Man. So if man or women create these associations, does those associations have power over man?
No.
No. Okay? So how does the government come up here and get power over man?
It only moves man down to the bottom as a citizen.
And how does he do that?
Contract.
He does it through titles. He gets you to accept a title. If you stay as a man or woman, which God created, our Creator created man and women, and you accept that as a man or woman, this government has no rights or authorities over you. But they get you to accept a title. Parent, taxpayer, driver, passenger, Mr., Mrs., all titles. And when you accept a title, you forfeit your rights. Okay? Anybody know the difference between unalienable or unalienable versus inalienable? Anybody know the difference? Now, if you go in a modern dictionary, it'll tell you they're the same thing. But if you go into Webster's Dictionary of 1829, you'll find out there are two significant differences. And as Michael talked earlier, unalienable rights cannot be taken away. They cannot be oppressed. They cannot be altered. They cannot be rearranged. And another question: how many rights do you have? How many rights do you guys have?
Unlimited.
You have all rights. All rights. As long as what?
You don't harm another.
You don't harm another. Okay, now, next question. How many laws do we have?
Yeah.
10 as far as I know, 10 Commandments.
Too many to count.
Positive laws, negative laws, or God's laws?
Okay, that's not a question. Question is, how many laws?
A lot.
Okay, and here's the answer. You only got 2 laws.
Love God.
Do not trespass, and that includes the person, the body. Do not trespass on the body. And the second one is, do not cause any harm. So if you go about your business, let's say you're traveling down the road, and you're minding your own business, and a cop pulls you over, a police officer pulls you over. Do you understand that he has violated you? Because he got in the way of your rights, your unalienable rights. Because if you haven't harmed anyone and you haven't trespassed on anybody, you haven't broken any law. Doesn't matter what code he's using to enforce his fake law. All right? So getting on with this. So with certain unalienable rights, so we have all rights. If you look in the Constitution.
Could I interrupt one second?
Yes.
How many people by a raise of hands really understood what Dave just said before tonight?
Before tonight?
Before tonight.
And it doesn't mean you could be ripping down a 25-mile-an-hour street with houses and kids outside,
No.
going speeding, because then you're infringing upon other people's
Why,
rights.
why is that? Why is what he just said? You guys got to understand this.
Safe in their own.
All of you, and this is what's not been taught in our system, in our society right now today. What's not been taught in our society today is self-governance. To hold ourselves accountable for our own personal actions. We expect the police officer to hold that man accountable. That's not his job. It's society's job to hold that man accountable. Okay? I mean, I get so many arguments from people that go, oh, I want the police because I don't want that man driving 50 miles an hour. Yeah, but if we taught that man self-governance, he wouldn't be driving 50 miles an hour down a 20-mile zone. Okay? Common sense tells him he shouldn't be doing it. But we're not teaching that. Okay? So the other thing is inalienable rights. Inalienable rights are rights that you can contractually give away. And inalienable rights start to show up in our documents, in our governmental documents, after about 1835, right about that time frame. Instead of unalienable rights that are in all of our organic paperwork, when you get like the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, Northwest Ordinance, they all say unalienable. But after approximately 1930, it went into inalienable because they decided, oh my God, we can't have them, knowing that they have unalienable rights. Inalienable rights is that you can give your rights away under contract. I'll give you a perfect example of that. Your driver's license. When you entered into the contract of your driver's license, you signed that document, you gave away your unalienable rights. But you know what the best part is? All you got to do is say, hey, I got my rights back. Bam. You got them. Okay? So, that among these unalienable rights is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And this is why the cop has violated you, because if you have not harmed anyone and you have not trespassed, and he pulls you over, he has just violated you because he interfered in your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. They're not allowed to do that. okay? It's right in the Constitution. They're not allowed to do that, okay? So among the, it says that to serve the, or secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So what exactly is that being said? This part you got to understand. This is the paramount point of this paragraph. They have one job, and they only have one job. And that job is to protect your unalienable rights. How they doing? How they doing?
Not good.
Yeah, they're failing. But here's the problem. That whenever any form of government, any form, township, county commissioners, health department, EPA, any form of government, the governor, the president, Congress, becomes destructive of these ends. You know what these ends are? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. It is the right of the people to abolish that government. Abolish it. This is not sedition. It's our God-given right. And if you read down further in that paragraph, it's our duty. It's our duty as Americans, just like Francis Scott, stand up and claim what is right and put these government officials in their place. Do you understand this Constitution? It's a four-corner document. Do you understand what that means? That means they have to operate inside of that document. They are not allowed to get out. Guess what they've done? They've jumped out of that document. They jumped out of it. And it's our job as committees of safety to hold the local governments accountable for their actions. Now, what we're doing in Lorain County, Ohio, is we're getting ready to go into the health department and put them on notice. And we're giving them 72 hours to either resign their position or come in compliance with the Constitution under the Republic. Okay? This is something I'd like to teach all of you how to do, but there's steps that has to be done before you can get there. All right? So that's something that's not going to happen today, but it will happen in time. And that's up to you guys, how involved you want to be and get going. All right? So, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, when this becomes overwhelming, remember, I'm taking one bite at a time. Because it will. I mean, even the stuff I'm talking about tonight, a lot of you are going to find this overwhelming information. You're going to think you just got hit with a fire hose. All right? Now moving on to the committees of safety. In the committees of safety, we have a triangle. Okay? And you got the committees of safety at the top. And then over here, you got the common law grand jury. All right? And then over here, you have the militia. That is your safety net. This is your structure as civilians in holding the government accountable for their actions. Now, how do you hold them accountable for their actions? Anybody? You know how to do it?
Indictments.
The panel of citizens grand jury.
Okay, you're getting ahead of yourself. All right.
Former
In the
convict.
Constitution, that's their rule book. This is their book of operation. This is their manual that tells them how they can operate their government. You understand this book, the Constitution of the United States of America, is not your document. Doesn't belong to you. You understand? It's this. I have constitutional rights. You have no constitutional rights because you're not a party to this document. You guys got to understand that, where the ownership lies. It lies in the government. Who's the government?
Well, what I've been told is we've created the government, so we're not really the government, we've created the government.
I'm sorry, we what?
We created the government.
Yeah, we did. We did create the government. It says man created the government.
Correct.
Okay?
And all the
So how did the government get over and start ruling us?
Right, and all the Constitution is an invisible fence around the government.
Well, that's yeah, you could put that like a paddock. And, well, right, okay. So, you broke my chain. Okay, I got it. So, how do we hold them accountable for their actions? All right? I mean, they commit treason every day. I mean, they do it in their emails, they do it in the newspaper articles, they do it in meetings. I mean, they do it all the time. They don't even realize they're doing it. They don't even realize they're committing treason.
Some of them don't.
Well, there's a good many because they wouldn't say what they say. Okay, in the Constitution, Article 6 says in second paragraph, it says the Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. Supreme law of the land. So if the Constitution under Article 6 is the supreme law of the land, where did the statutes and codes come that they're holding over the top of you? Where did 28 USC come from for income tax? Where is those laws? How do those apply when it says here, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land? And then it goes on to say, judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Not to a corporation. Not to a corporation. But they're bound to this Constitution. And you go into a court of law and you ask that judge, does he have a lawful oath? And he will not answer you. I guarantee you, he will not answer you. You can take his oath, go down to the courthouse, get a copy, a certified copy of his oath of office, have it notarized by your signature over the top of it, put it back in the docket. Now he's bound by his oath. He'll still ignore it. This is how criminal they're getting. Okay? This is how criminal they're getting. Okay, third paragraph. Senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers. Who are executive and judicial officers?
Judges.
Everybody that works in the government. Everybody that works in the government has to have an oath of office. Not somebody that's elected. It doesn't say here, elected officers. It says all officers. Okay? So if you're a janitor and you're hired by the government to sweep the floors, you better, by God, have an oath of office. Because when I was in the military, guess what I had to take? And I wasn't even a private. I had to take an oath of office. I had to swear to serve and protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of my state. Why are they any different? Do you understand that this Constitution, he talks about maxims, right? Well, I'm going to give you a maxim, okay? And here's the maxim. First in time, first in line makes this paramount priority over any of their constitutions. You guys understand there was a constitution created in 1871? That's a corporate charter, by the way. That's not a constitution. But they live on that constitution. That's why it's buzzing. They living on that belief. Well, the thing is, they're committing treason because they are ignoring this Constitution. This is the Constitution of 1787, not the Constitution of 1789. Anybody know what the difference is? The Constitution of 1787 was written for the people. The Constitution of 1789 was written for a contractual agreement between the delegates and King George Because we lost the Revolutionary War. Oops, you guys didn't know that? Sorry, we did. We lost the Revolutionary War. Because we owed King Charles a debt, or King George a debt for $18 million. And our delegates had to pay that.
He bought it from France.
Mhm.
France loaned us the money. The King of England bought the debt.
And then he has held that over us ever since. You know how long we were actually free?
12 years, 11.
6 years. From the Declaration of Independence, 1776, to the signing of the Peace Accord in 1783. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because this is one thing that just, I don't understand. We had our Constitution, we went to war, we lost. How do you get it back? Because as far, I mean, our whole lives, you
It's
own
still
a
there.
business, you lose
Okay.
it, you
There-
lost your
there-
business.
there-
That's a good
Somebody else
question,
now.
and this is what, okay, Michael talked about that Republic has been on the shelf, and the Republic is in existence right now. There's offices that work every day in the Republic, and I'll give you one that you're not aware of, and you go to it every day, almost every day. The U.S. Post Office,
Right, yeah.
okay? U.S. Post Office, that's a Republic. And without the U.S. Post Office, there's no United States of America. You understand, Benjamin Franklin created the first post office. He was the postmaster, right? The first postmaster of America. You know who the second postmaster was? Any idea? King George. And he held that position until when?
Probably now.
1999.
Oh, the guy took the flag back.
When did we get our sovereignty back? We got it back, by the way. Do you know when we got it back?
Guy, what's his name? Took over.
2018.
Gold.
Oh, Donald Trump.
When Donald Trump walked in front of Queen Elizabeth, we were sovereign. We were all sovereign, okay? We're winning this situation, guys. But we're in a situation now where we, the people, have to take over.
There's no one on a white horse
Yeah, there's no one on a white horse.
that's gonna calm down
Okay.
Trump, the military, all that. We have to exert our authority and take care of our communities and bubble it up from the bottom.
Why wouldn't he just, this is the thing that's frustrating me. I mean, I was at his inauguration. I bent over backwards to get him there. And I was at Mar-a-Lago a month ago. What I don't understand is why isn't he leading us? Why didn't he tell us, we lost our sovereignty, but I got it back for you, and now this is what I expect you to do?
I can
I
answer.
mean, everybody keeps telling me it's a chess game, he can't show, I don't get it. At some point,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'd like to tell you, because if you're following, well, you can, because there is a gentleman that lays it out fairly well, but, it goes by Derek Johnson, but there is a military operation, and it's actually global, and when it was set up, actually the military had put a lot of things in place before Donald Trump came down the escalator.
Yeah,
and
they put him in place.
They put him in there, and once he got in, he started putting everything in place for an operation. And then he went on the capitulation tour where he did all the.
I understand.
Okay, during that, he basically would walk up to these leaders and throw them an envelope and say, we have everything, we know everything.
I saw all that
So
too.
you can either come on our
Mama
side.
Bird,
So
Mama
our
Bird's gonna
military
push
is working
babies
with
out of
global
the nest.
military.
I mean, I see all that.
I think what is the majority of the Americans have been asleep for so many years. In order for the regular
There would have been a
person-
civil
Okay.
war.
You understand why Americans been asleep for so many years,
Yeah.
okay? The international bankers created our sleep, okay? You understand the Civil War had nothing to do with slavery.
Yes.
It was a war instituted by the international bankers to suppress the state's sovereignty. Before the Civil War, the state flag flew above the federal flag. After the Civil War, it flew below. You understand, we didn't go into corporate government in 1871. It happened on April 15th. Hear what I'm saying? April 15th, 1861. That's why when they say Donald Trump's going to take over the Republic, he's going to be the 19th president. No, he's going to be the 17th president. Because Lincoln was what? The 16th president. And he ended the Republic on March 24th, 1861.
And then Wilson and then FDR piled on to crush it.
Is Trump the commander-in-chief?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we had the Civil War, we had 1812 war, we had Andrew Jackson suppressing the second charter, or the third charter of the First Bank of America. You know who owned the First Bank of America? King George, or whoever was after the Crown. The Crown owned the bank. Okay, it was part of paying back the debt. All right. That 18 million has been paid back to them in trillions of dollars.
What's the significance of 1999? Explain that. How many years?
Okay. Okay.
This is really important.
It's
folks, to
3
understand.
international bankruptcies.
Then it's Jubilee.
Okay. So the first one was 1789. Okay. The second one was 1859. And the next one was in 1929.
That number sound familiar?
Yes.
Stock market crash, remember?
Okay? This is the predecessor for the Civil War. This ended the Revolutionary War with the signing of the, the Bill of Rights came 2 years after this Constitution. You understand the Bill of Rights was written at the same time that this Constitution was written? But they had to get this one passed because otherwise the delegates were going to be saddled with the $18 million debt. And they didn't want to be saddled, so they shoveled it onto the people with this contract. That's why it's called a constitution. A constitution, if you look up the word constitution and you break it down, it is a debt obligation. Debt obligation. Okay? So then 70 years, every year, there's 3 internationals, they're 70 years apart. Okay? 70 years apart. So at the end, 1999. They can only do 3 international bankruptcies. They're not allowed to do anything more. The United States of America, Inc. has to go into liquidation. It can't exist any longer. You understand? We've been putting up with 20 years of, pardon my French, but bullshit because they don't want to give the reins up. All right? So in 1999, they had to surrender the postmastership. The king did. And there was a 2-week window where they had to step out of that position because the bankruptcy ended. And there was a guy by the name of Russell J. Gold. Okay? I was saving that. He stepped in and captured the postmastership and the 4D flag. He captured the 4D flag.
Title 4 flag, yeah.
Okay? And when he did that, he blocked Queen Elizabeth from getting back in to the postmastership. The postmaster is a very lucrative position. All right? Very lucrative. That's why they wanted it. You understand, all international trade goes through the postmaster. All international trade goes through the postmaster. You guys starting to get the picture? All ships going in and out of the United States. The money, the revenues collected goes through the postmaster.
And isn't the post office, isn't that the court of record?
It can be.
Yeah, right.
The post office is the highest court of the land. Okay? If you can get into a post office court, you're in the highest court of the land. Okay?
If Trump is commander-in-chief, okay, why is he allowing all of this that's going on in the courts right now, and then he's not operating under common law?
You want to know?
Yes.
You ready? Because he's trying to wake up all the dumbasses out there that got their head in the sand.
With
And
their
I
asses
told
up.
you, how do you legitimately get information into the public purview that's otherwise not? You get it in through these court cases.
Right.
And everybody that hates him and wants to see him fall is tuned in to him showing all of this
Right.
information like flies on shit.
Yeah, he's exposing, for one, he's exposing the corruption that most of us have experienced in these courts for years. Okay? You don't have a voice in the court. Do you understand that in the law, Article 3, they are not allowed to deny you access to the court? When they deny you access to the court, there is no government. Because the people have the right under the First Amendment to what? Air your grievance. And those grievances are being denied you. Okay? So, under what they've done, do I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Just tell me when
This is important.
Okay. Under what's happened, okay? In 1861, well, I'm sorry, 63, it was 63. It's called the Executive Order 100, General Rule 100. The Libre Code was instituted, okay? When they instituted the Libre Code, who is the commander-in-chief of the military? The president, right? That's in Article 2. That's it. The commander-in-chief, the executive branch, is Article 2 of the Constitution. All right? So in 1863, they put the Libre Code in place, and all of us went under military jurisdiction, not martial law, military jurisdiction. Why? Why? You got to ask yourself why. Okay? The reason why
They eliminated the title of nobility.
they circumvented under Article 3, the bar can't go into court because they're titles of nobility. So they had to figure out a way to have a court. So under military jurisdiction, under the executive branch, they created a bar-gill court. And that's what we're all under right now. You got to get rid of this, okay? How do you do that? You do that with these guys. And you do it with a social compact. Okay? You probably haven't heard that word. I'm going to give you a perfect example of a social compact. You ready? The Articles of Confederation of Perpetual Union. That's a social compact.
Which has been demonized forever.
Yeah, they deliberately demonize it because what it does is the Articles of Confederation put the federal government in a little box like that, and King George wanted them in a big box like this. So he created this contract. So the government could get out of this, get into this box and get out of that box. They went here. The federal government, our founding fathers, when they created the Articles of Confederation, they put the federal government in this little box because they knew what was going to happen if they got out of that box. And guess what happened? What we're facing right now today. Why do we have a national board of, or a national board of education, or a national board of agriculture, or any of the others that are out there? Why do we have that? Why do we have an FBI? Why do we have a CIA? You understand, all of those agencies are outside of the Constitution.
They're there to control us.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
What's unique about a social compact though?
Okay.
Tell them about the Articles of Confederation.
I mean, how do you like push back on some of these, all those three-letter
Right here.
agencies that,
Right here, right here.
Stand up.
like
Right
ATF and
Stand up.
EPA, like,
You stand up.
they don't make laws explaining it to the guy in the
Okay,
grocery store.
first of all, they're not allowed to make laws, and yet they are. There's a
Yeah.
branch of government, it's called the fourth, well, they call it the fourth branch. It's called Article 4. There's Article 1 court, Article 2 court, Article 3 court, and Article 4. Okay, I don't know what the Article 1 is. The Article 2 is the Bar Guild. Is the Bar Guild court. That's your admiral or your maritime law courts that you're under right now, where they're trying. All they're doing is generating revenue. You guys have any idea on one speeding ticket how much money they generate?
3 to 5 million.
How much?
3 to 5 million.
Try 6. Okay.
That was close.
Bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond. Each one of those bonds is $2 million minimum. $2 million minimum. So every time they get a ticket and you go into court and you plead not guilty, that generates a court case. As soon as they generate a court case, boom, $2 million right out of the gate. And guess where that money comes from?
From my trust.
Your trust. It comes out of your Sesta KQB trust.
Where does that come from?
That comes from your mom and dad's seed money out of their Social Security account when you were born, and they used that money to seed your certificate of live birth, which started the process. When you turned 18, then they started monetizing it. Well, they started monetizing before that, but when you turned 18, then they started grabbing big gobs of money out of it.
Your Social Security number, your certificate of live birth, you put those numbers, I can't remember the website, but you can see how many times you're being traded as a commodity. I put my social number in that website, there were 389 entities trading me, and 90% of them were not this country. Saudi Arabia, all over the world, right? Because we're cattle, we're chattel, right? That's how they've done it.
First certificates came around in 1913, something's right around the same time.
Well, 1913 was the Federal Reserve Act.
Yeah, 1913 created the Federal Reserve.
Here's the irony to it. They give you that birth certificate making you dead or lost at sea, but along with that birth certificate, they put $1 million insurance policy on your life.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
This is why it's so difficult, folks. This is why when people are naive, go into government. And this is where morality comes in. This is where you have to have people that are God-fearing and moral. So a person has good intentions, goes to Washington, D.C. If they are weak at all, meaning spiritually and morally, they get sucked right in. They get sucked in. They make unheard of amounts of money. They have the wild orgy parties. They get people on camera. It's all a criminal enterprise. The people that are in government today, in our corporate government, they're all sociopaths and psychopaths, right? That's who they are.
You know, 90% of probably about 87% of all congressmen are bar members. More than 60% of all the public officials that work in Washington are bar members.
What does BAR stand for?
British Accredited Registry.
Thank you.
And this is what you guys got to understand about the bar.
That's their allegiance. Even when you are represented by an attorney, their first allegiance is to the bar.
Yeah, you know what their second allegiance is?
To the court.
To the court.
Third is to the general public.
Right.
And then third or fourth is you.
So any attorney that has a bar license is an enemy of the state. They're an enemy to us.
To the country.
Right.
Whether they know it or not.
I've had to, I think many of the Macomb people know me, I helped introduce the local state investigations here in this county, but since we've gotten these efforts going here, I had to start working, within the courts. And it's very interesting because according to their court rules, and I want to distinguish between Michigan court rules and statutory or constitutional law, because they're distinctly different. Michigan court rules do not follow anything with the Constitution.
No.
Or even with their statutory things. But here is the thing, and here is the biggest thing that hopefully this gentleman and I and one or two other constitutional sheriff candidates can discuss. You cannot walk into that courtroom and represent anybody else, including out of the prosecutor's office, without a membership. This is not a license, it's a membership.
You can't, none of us should ever go into their maritime courts.
Right.
We don't, we don't have to.
This is not a court system.
Okay.
This is run by the bar association.
Right, it's run by the bar, it's an Article 2 bar-gill court, that's why I keep saying it's about bar-gill court. They pass law, matter of fact, all legislative law that's in your state, my state, and all the other states, is all drafted by the bar. The legislators that we elect to be our representatives, they're not writing any law. These guys are writing all the law, that's why they gotta go. And they write the law dictated to them by the crown. How do you like England still running your life?
I don't.
That's exactly what's happening, okay? That's why I'm so frustrated because I know this stuff and I can't get it in you guys' heads.
So
all of us should be...
Here's the good thing, though. Here's the good thing. Folks, that you just gotta, and for those of you that have heard me, they don't invite me back to talk at the GOP meeting anymore after I read the Declaration of Independence. But here's the thing. The beautiful thing is we are so lucky to be alive today.
Right.
Because if you can have the discipline to shut off social media, to shut off the television, to stop going to football games and all these things that when Caesar was ruling, he said, give them bread and circuses and they'll never revolt. So it's, instead of all of that, you educate yourself, and here's the beauty of it. The Constitution is three pages.
Right.
You can become a lawyer. You can run circles around bar attorneys because you master the law. They're just playing in this commercial code and statute game and confounding people.
Yeah.
So as long as you don't consent to them, and Terry, this is the conversation we had, if you can be a constitutionally legitimate sheriff, you swear, I don't even want to say swear, you affirm that you're going to uphold the Constitution, because you heard Matthew 5, you should never swear an oath. But you affirm, I will uphold the Constitution. I will protect you people, the Committee of Safety in Macomb County, your families. I will protect you from the tyrannical government, and that includes at all levels.
You want to move into sheriffs?
Yes.
I'll skip through this.
We'll do another session. I wanted you guys to get a foundation. I apologize, those of you that are well aware of this already, because I know many of you are, but the majority probably weren't. So that's why that was so important. So Dave.
Yeah.
The whole concept of Committee of Safety, and you know, this book is great. I know there's some things that Dave disagrees with, and this is the beautiful thing, folks. You get to decide. You get to discern what's true.
And that,
right?
Yeah. Okay. There are organizations out there that is top, this is the top, and these organizations, and then you're down here, okay? And they call themselves assemblies, all right? American States Assembly, Life Force Assemblies, there's probably, Tactical Civics. They're a top-down operation. That's not a republic, guys. This is what you want right here, okay? You want the committees of safety at the county or at the township or the borough to be running their local operation. And then they send a delegate to the state assembly, okay? And these delegates here have to get permission from them. They can't now, I'm in the state assembly, now I'm going to write law, I'm going to create, no. They have to get the okay from these guys, okay? And that's all of you coming together equally with what you want your Committee of Safety to perform under your bylaws and under your social compact.
We can never restore liberty for our children and grandchildren while political parties exist.
Yeah,
Understand that.
That's be gone.
Political parties are what the bar used to divide and conquer us.
And then the state sends delegates, the state assembly sends delegates to represent in the National Assembly. Okay?
So in the case of, and then what is the significance, the true significance of the sheriff?
Okay. The sheriff is a key component in your Committee of Safety in your county, because under the law, under the Constitution.
When we say law, we're not talking about land.
Right, we're not talking statutes, codes, and all this stuff. We got sold out on the Constitution, on statutes and codes, and I just found this out, and I was appalled. In 1792, because of the agreement with King George, that he wanted statutes and codes injected into the system, so they put the Constitution on the side burner and instituted statutes and codes at large. That was done by King George, okay? We've been robbed of our liberty and we didn't even realize it, okay? So getting back to this, so you as an individual, with the sheriff is the highest law officer in the county except for the coroner. And the coroner's only job, other than being a coroner, is to make sure the sheriff's doing his job. And if he isn't, he has the right to remove him. He just signs a piece of paper, bam, he's out. He's out. Okay? Yeah. Well, a lot of counties, they have removed the coroner and put in a medical examiner. Okay? They have violated the republic. Okay? In the state of Ohio, we only have like 3 or 4 coroners in the whole entire state.
In many counties, in New York and other places, they've eliminated sheriff departments.
Right. Yeah, in Connecticut, I communicate with people all over the United States. In Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, they have eliminated the sheriff's position entirely. There's no sheriff in those states. Okay? There's no coroners in those states. Yeah.
If you have a sheriff recalled, who replaces the sheriff?
The Committee of Safety.
The Committee of Safety. See, that's where you guys have the power. Because when you settle on the land, you become de jure. And you're the only de jure government in the county.
De jure means lawful.
Here's the definition of de jure. De jure is laws instituted or controlled by we the people. By the people, for the people, of the people. That's a de jure government. The people, the consent of the people is operating the government. Okay?
And that's us. We're not getting paid a salary.
Right.
That's
so
us. We're self-governed.
Sheriff doesn't step up.
You know what a de facto government is? A de facto government, Barr, has infiltrated into our government and instituted their laws. It's an enemy. They're an enemy. They are enemies of our country, have infiltrated into looking like us, acting like us, infiltrated into our government and instituted their laws. What are their laws?
Illegal.
Statutes and codes. Statutes and codes. In direct violation of the Constitution. Okay?
Which they're now breaking even that.
That's because they're at their end of the ropes. They know that. See, here's where they're at. they're, you know, and he talks about mercy, okay? That's the only saving grace they got, is our mercy. Because they have created so many criminal acts against the people, the only outcome is death by hanging, okay? Death by hanging. So it's only our mercy that's going to save them from anything other than death. So they're fighting viciously on suppressing us as best they can, okay? And they're doing, I mean, if it means breaking the law. I got friends that know their stuff very, very well and have put the judges in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. I have a friend that has put the judges in their little box, and he has taken their abilities to control him, and they went and hunted him down, captured him, and put him in jail because they can't control him, and they don't want him out there maybe talking to you guys because they're scared that your guys are going to figure this out. And once you guys start standing up, it's over with. It's over with, guys. Get off your knees. It's over with.
You know, go back and rewatch Trump's inaugural speech. I am here to return the power to the people. See, here's the problem with kings, aka presidents. Doesn't matter. We've had, you look at Israel, they had kings that were fantastic. Then they had kings that were scoundrels. That's why a self-governing republic is so powerful, folks.
Right.
That we are kings, and we are going to do the right thing, and we can't rely on, we have to do the work.
Right.
But see, if it's 5 of us trying to do the committee of safety and trying to save the republic,
Takes more than 5.
it's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
If it's 500 of us,
Right.
it's a lot less burden on every one of us if we all pull together. And
Yeah,
he's right.
Don't forget this triangle.
Well, and that was what I was going to talk to, and Terry, you and I had this conversation.
These guys here, your committee of safety, go here, okay? These guys cannot go here. They
Right.
cannot, okay? But these guys can.
And when we think
Okay.
about militia, we don't want anything to do with quote-unquote organized militias in the
No,
sense.
we want
Hey
voluntary militia.
folks, who here has a gun? Who's willing to stand for the rest of us
Right.
if the tyrannical government comes after us?
For instance, let's say this gentleman right here is in the middle of a foreclosure. You understand foreclosures are fraud. And the bank, the court, that's a bank, by the way, the court is a bank, has determined that they're going to sell his property off to the highest bidder, and they're going to foreclose on him and remove him from the property. Okay? Now, under law, under common law, I erased it. Under common law, if he stays on the land, what's the rule? Not possession is what? 9/10 of the law. Okay? So if he's on the land, he's physically on the land, they can't take over the property. So they come in with their goon squad to try to remove him. He makes one phone call because he's part of this. And you guys got one of these. Yeah. And you make one phone call to one person, and that person makes 5 phone calls, and the next person makes 5 phone calls, and in 20 minutes, he's got 100 men standing out in front of his house. That's how we beat them. That's how we don't fire a shot. We don't fire a shot. Nobody loads their gun. Well, I would have it loaded, and I'll tell you what, that police will back down. They will disappear. Okay? Anybody know who the Bundys are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Out in Utah, I think it was Utah.
Oregon.
No, Oregon was the BLM debacle. I'm talking about at his ranch.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Eastern Oregon too.
No, I thought it was Utah or Nevada.
Montana.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's one of
But
those
anyhow, he was ranging on government property, okay? Now, first of all, government aren't allowed, in the Constitution, government isn't allowed to hold property. They're not allowed to hold land. And he
Say
had
it one more time, the government is not allowed to hold land.
But
Just
they have all the
understand that.
national parks.
They stole it all.
yeah, they're not even allowed to have see, Teddy Roosevelt
If
did
you
that.
go to a national park and try to pay with cash money,
You cannot.
you cannot.
Yeah,
It takes a credit card or a debit card.
yeah. So, he stood his ground on, and a bunch of people from all over the United States came to his ranch. And they had the ATF there, they had the FBI there, DEA there, I mean, and they were all armed, they had snipers. They had 3 snipers on Bundy, old man Bundy.
Didn't he get shot?
Yeah, how many of
No. Nobody got shot. And I think it lasted 3 days. And then the FBI and all, they finally got the orders to pull out. Because they didn't want another Ruby Ridge and they didn't want another Waco. Okay? Because things were making them look bad. Okay, back to the sheriff. The sheriff has the right to convene a grand jury, not the prosecutor. That's all done under the Buck Act. In 1950, they instituted a law called the Buck Act, and they took all the powers away from the sheriff and gave them to the prosecutor, the county prosecutor.
Who is a what? A bar attorney.
Yeah, a bar attorney, okay?
Not a lawyer.
Under the right to air your grievances, you have the right to go to a sheriff and say to the sheriff, I have been violated, I have been harmed, I have been trespassed on, here's my affidavit of truth. Under the Fifth Amendment. Under the Fifth Amendment. And he convenes a grand jury of 25 people. And they go through the evidence, independent of the court. Articles,
This grand jury
Amendment
outside
7,
of the court.
Amendment 7, which is the right to form a common law grand jury, that's a people's court. That is totally exclusive of the judiciary operation. Totally separate. It's the people's court. That's what makes it so powerful. So they evaluate the evidence. They have the right to investigate. They have the right to summons the sheriff to go get evidence. They have the right to go and go interview people.
As long as they what? Do not violate someone's
Unalienable
unalienable rights.
Right.
So a grand jury has to make sure they're not gonna
Right.
violate someone's
That
rights.
they're not going to trespass on anybody's rights.
Does it have to be the sheriff that calls the grand jury or convenes the grand jury?
No, but if they know that you're open to receiving, okay, and then the people of the community will then approach you, okay, and you could help them by saying, well, you need an affidavit, and you can help them draft an affidavit, okay?
See, if we get
Or
our committee
come
of
to the
safety,
committee of safety,
we have
and
a
the committee of
judiciary
safety
committee.
helps them draft the affidavit.
Right, right, Dave, we got a judiciary committee, right? They're the
Right.
ones that are educating jurors so that people
Now,
understand the law.
you're gonna convene your grand jury from these guys. You're gonna convene the grand jury from the committee of safety, okay? Why are you gonna convene the grand jury for the committee of safety? Because when you join the committee of safety, you become electors. Electors. You're no longer voters. You know what voters are?
Slaves.
Slaves. Voters are slaves. Electors are free men and women on the land. The electoral college that you hear about during the presidential election is fraud. Why is it fraud? Because they have public officials as electors. Public officials aren't allowed to be electors. If you have somebody for your committee of safety that wants to run for office, he has to remove himself from the committee of safety and he can no longer be an elector. That's the rules. That's how it works. Okay?
And the law is very simple, like we said, do no harm, right? And Terry's job and Scott's job, should they be sheriff, are to protect all of us from the government, from their codes and statutes, from their policy enforcers, from their income profit-making schemes.
Right.
That's their job. So they have to be willing to stand, because it's not going to be easy to be a sheriff. right now, because we're on
Yeah,
we're at that precipice, right? We need strong men and women that can stand.
If he decides to be in the Republic, okay, he has to take an oath of office to the Republic. They're going to want him to swear an oath of office to what? The corporation, okay? So, what's the maximum law? First in time, first in line, okay?
Aren't we based, didn't the corporate go bankrupt? And so after this is all kind of done with the military operations or whatnot, isn't it gonna free up our sheriffs to be able to do more of what they were
Okay,
meant to
this is
do?
what's gonna happen. And I don't wanna bring doom and gloom in this room, but that's, if you're in the corporation and you violated anybody's unalienable rights, you're going to jail. Okay? I don't care if you're a sheriff, you're a deputy, a prosecutor, an attorney. They're gonna go through their judge. They're gonna go through their records. They're gonna go through the court docket. And when they see they've been violated, and I hope to God they start with a family court.
Yes.
Okay? That they start with the family court, and those bastards should be hung immediately.
Yep.
Okay? No ifs, ands, buts. They're just off to the oak trees. And if it's my way, they get hung from the highest oak tree and they're left there.
So just for the record, if it's my way, which is God's way, we will show them grace and mercy. We will, I'm serious. We will give them the opportunity to repent, to confess to their crimes, and to never take another office of public trust again. And let them get right with God. We don't need to
And then when they
punish
violate it again?
No.
We're
We're gonna take their bonds.
And they pass it on to their children and their friends and family so that it springs up again.
No, it springs up again when people are lazy and they don't learn, right? So here's the thing. You use that analogy of everybody's hoping that Trump or the military is gonna come in. Listen, Mama Bird can only nurture and feed the chicks for so long. Then what happens? She kicks them out of the nest. Folks, we have to stand on our own feet.
Right.
We have all the power. We have all the power, and I'll tell you this. That Declaration of Independence, only 3% of the 3 million colonists were on board. Only 3%.
Only 3%.
Okay? Only 3%. Do the math. That's not a lot of people.
Only 7% of the 3 million supported the 3%. Only 7%. Total of 10% of the population supported. You understand the ramification of that. That meant that out of the 90% left, they either didn't care or they supported the crown, which means you were in enemy territory. Our revolutionary soldiers were in enemy territory all the time.
From the moment they signed that declaration, they were in enemy territory. Now here, they spilled their blood to give us this republic.
Right.
This very unique thing that no one in history has ever had or has had since.
Sounds kind of familiar.
All we need to do is educate ourselves and put a little bit of time in. Stop with the social media. Stop with all the baloney. Stop with all of that, folks, and think about your posterity, because I almost died in the dark. I'm 60. If it wasn't for COVID, I would have never woke up.
Right.
It was COVID that I said something is terribly evil, something's wrong. Okay? So now if our generation wallows off into the sunset, well, I'm going to mind my own business, just like they did in Nazi Germany in the late 20s, early 30s, right? Well, they're not coming after me. I'm going to just mind my own business. I'm not jumping in to protect that guy because they might come after me.
We owe it to our grandchildren.
We owe it to all of them, because if our generation,
future generations.
Okay, you guys understand. You guys understand. Since 1933, okay, since 1933, they have robbed your inheritance. They have robbed your children's inheritance, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren inheritance. They have robbed it. They have stolen it for themselves. okay?
And that's what criminals do, that's what sociopaths and psychopaths do, right? They attract, that's why every democracy in world history has failed. Because you can't sustain all of that criminal element, it implodes.
Do you guys know the difference between a republic and a democracy? You guys got that? The man, the individual has rights. In a democracy, an individual has no rights. Okay?
Well, republic is ruled by law, democracy is ruled by man.
Mob.
The mob. Okay? Think about that for a minute.
All right, we can go into Q&A, so if anybody has any questions.
So real quick, I'm sorry, I just want to get this through, because for Terry and Scott's benefit, once we have a social compact for this committee of safety, once we put in our social compact, once we take our authority, once we place ourselves on the land as living men and women, and we go ahead, talk about that.
Okay, social compact, why you want one, okay? First, you gotta establish your committee of safety. You gotta put it on the land, and it's a process, okay? It takes about a month to put it on the land. Once it's on the land, then you wanna move into your social compact. The reason for the social compact is to protect you, to protect every one of you. Because under the Buck Act, what they did was they gave the prosecutor all the authority to convene a grand jury. And no one else is allowed to convene a grand jury. No one. And if you try to convene a grand jury without his authority, you'll go to jail. So how do you get around that? You become sovereigns. How do you become sovereigns? You form a social compact. That moves you out of their claim that you're a U.S. citizen, and moves you into being sovereign. Right? Even though you're all sovereign, but that social compact is what gives you the separation of power between their fraud and what is reality. That's the purpose of the social compact. So now the social compact's in place. Now you can convene your common law grand jury. You can start convening 25 people.
And we can organize the militia.
Right.
We can have training. We can teach people. And the whole purpose is not to use the guns, but just them knowing that the guns are there, and that we have authority under law to use them, the Constitution.
You guys understand that the reason that we don't have something like going on in China, or, I mean, I'll use China because it's extreme.
Australia.
Or Australia, is the reason that none of that's happened is because there's
500 million
500, you know,
500 million plus guns
in this country.
Now, unfortunately,
that's the only reason that they haven't come with and set up the gulags and come with the yellow buses with the SWAT guys. That's why they haven't done it.
When it comes to government, there's only 550 of them. There's 330 million of us.
That's federal. Okay, I got news for you. 50% of the population in this country works for the government.
Yeah.
In one manner or another. Okay? 50%. They've done that deliberately, by the way.
So now you understand the importance.
If you take out the top federal ones,
you understand the importance of the
it's going to send a message to
okay,
those ones.
all right, you're at the wrong end. We don't want to be up here. We want to be at the bottom. Okay.
Bottom up.
You take care of this, and you're going to starve this. Okay. Do you guys understand? As a committee of safety, and you set up your social compact, and then you start conveying your common law grand juries, you're going to eliminate the health department. You're going to remove the school boards.
All the
okay?
everybody with signs at the school boards, we remove them.
But why are they there? Why? I mean, if you remove them and you're not ready, they're going to put their guy. They're going to put another crony in that spot. How do you stop that? The Committee of Safety is de jure, goes to the Board of Elections and say, you can only put our people in that position on a temporary basis until lawful elections can be held. Okay? And your people, the Committee of Safety, are placeholders. They're placeholders. And the first thing you do as a placeholder is you dissolve the corporation.
How did the lawful election work out in 2020?
Well, that was an election.
That was an election.
An
But-
election is amongst electors.
Right.
We're all voters. Well, I'm not a voter anymore, but
Well,
many
the
people are
electors
voters.
failed to do their jobs.
Okay.
We, the people, are
That,
supposed
that's
to
a
do
private corporation, and somebody above them said, you're gonna do this, and I go, okay, I follow orders, and I'm gonna do it, okay? So that's small things. What I'm pointing out to you is, I'm giving you a blueprint, and what you gotta do is, once you take, Committee of Safety is established, and you understand yourself, you understand who you are, you understand the laws. The laws is God's law. Do no harm, do not trespass. You understand those things and you begin to implement. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. When you get those things, you get it in your head, you understand it, okay? Then you move forward and you dismantle the corporation. How do you dismantle it? You remove them from office for treason. They do it, they're not even realizing they're doing it. You remove them from office and you put your people in, and one of the first things you do is dissolve the corporation with the Secretary of
It's called a
State.
dissolution. You
Right,
dissolve the
dissolution.
corporation.
You file a dissolution with the Secretary of State and dissolve the corporation. Boom. Now the state government has no oversight over you or your board of directors or the county commissioners or whatever, okay?
I know
Or
we're
the
short on
sheriff's
time.
office.
I know we're short on time, but if you can, real quickly, these committee of safety seem to be the integral component. Guide us, or at least outline the origin of a committee of safety.
Okay.
And the construction of.
We
a
got
committee
2
of safety.
minutes, but
Okay.
I want to give Terry an opportunity. He was so gracious to come. I want him to give his comments.
I'd like to know, we talked about it, Mike, the origin of the county,
Okay.
commission of safety. It came from France or Britain. in the
No,
first
hang
place,
on, I
right?
got it.
When's the last
Real
time
quick,
the
I can do
committee-
this whole thing in 2 minutes.
All right, there we
The
go.
county, the Committee of Safety origin is in 1215.
Yeah.
1215, creation of Magna Carta.
Yep.
Our founding fathers were Englishmen. The English brought their law into this country. Their law included common law. It included the grand jury. It included the Magna Carta. It included all of the things that our founding fathers put into the Bill of Rights. Okay? You understand that Paul Revere rode the midnight ride to warn the countrymen in Lexington and Concord. He had a pass issued by Samuel Adams, who was the moderator for the Boston Committee of Safety. That's how powerful that position was. The British had to let him through because the Committee of Safety gave him permission. 1690, there was a tyrannical governor of New York. We had a militia, but we didn't have a Committee of Safety, and he was tyrannical, so they formed a Committee of Safety, and they brought criminal charges against him, and he served 2 years in prison in New York. When he got out of from his sentence, he went back to England. He didn't even stay here. That's the power of the Committee of Safety, okay? And that was under King's rule. The king was very much in place in 1690.
We were still part of England.
Yeah.
I've got a question. How many
Right
How
here.
many members of the Committee of Safety does it take? Does it go by population of what a county is?
Okay, you want to start a Committee of Safety in any one of these counties? 3 to 5 people, and I'll start you. I'll get you off the ground, I'll get
That
you
was my
running.
next question. How do we start one tonight?
We gotta
Well,
move to a
if you
different
guys
venue.
if you guys had your paperwork here, we could have you guys sign your paperwork and then vote in your officers, and you'd have a Committee of Safety already established right here tonight.
When I was exploring the NLA website, it was discussing how you want to become somebody on a committee of safety, there's education that you should be focused and that you should go through before signing on that document. So is that a thing? Like, is there certain
You need to
education that we
understand the
need to
Constitution.
become one of these people?
That's a great idea, and when you guys get over 25, 30 people in your committee of safety, you can create a chair of education, and you can, or a sub-chair, and create a department or a chair of introduction to the committee of safety. We have a PowerPoint that we would play every night before we start our assembly meeting, and which gave them the introductory information on what an assembly was, what the purpose of the assembly was, and where it came from and all that. We did that for a half-hour PowerPoint presentation.
But the problem we have right now is the patient's bleeding to death.
Right.
And I know how to make a tourniquet. I didn't go to medical school, right? But I know how to make a tourniquet. So
Okay,
what
I'm
he's saying
gonna
is,
give you your answer. Okay, you guys all ready to hear this? This is paramount. You guys get this, all right? You ready? You gotta walk in faith. You gotta walk in faith. God only lights the first footstep in front of you. He does not show you how to get out to the expressway. He shows you how to take one step, and then he lights the next step. You gotta have faith into believing that this is right. It resonates in your heart. It resonates right here, and this is the truth to move forward, okay? If you feel that, then you need to get involved, okay? Because we need all of you. I can't do this by myself. Michael can't do this by himself. We can't. I've been doing this for 35 years. I can't do it. It's impossible. But if all of you guys come together in the love of God, you can make this happen, okay?
Trump did his part. He revealed and woke people up. Now we have to take action. It's all up to us. It really is.
Actually not, but.
Okay.
You know, so what I propose, everybody signed in, right? Did everybody sign your contact information?
She's got a question.
Yeah, hold on one quick second, because she's gonna come in any minute and kick us out. So, we'll connect with everybody and just find out if you wanna join the committee of safety or not, and we'll just start it.
I have one more question.
Yeah,
That's from Michael.
Well, she's
who else had a question? Go ahead, yeah.
I actually have a question for
No,
Terry.
that is from Michael.
No, that's from the NOA.
There's, I don't know if it's more than half or almost half of 83 counties have become Second Amendment sanctuary counties. Where does Macomb County sit?
We are Second Amendment sanctuary county. I was the only politician who spoke on it at the time. I was a rep. And when Mike tells you, see, I'm under a little bit of a different agreement. Mike, you hit it right on the head way back when, and I mean, we can go through all this and try to reinvent our government.
No. We're not reinventing anything.
If we don't have, but I'm saying, if we don't have Christians that are gonna be in our government, who are gonna, we don't vet our politicians, and we don't have people that are of our faith. I said this way back when I ran for sheriff the first time. We talk all this a good game about being Christians and God. If we're not gonna be on the same side ever if we don't have good Christians running our government. We're not sending evangelists there. We're not preaching to our politicians. So if these people are not of God and of this world, of course we're not going to have a perfect world. We're in a fallen creation right now. But to say that, if it has to go to that, but basically what you're talking about is blowing everything up and restarting.
No.
Returning to, well, I don't.
That's not the point. The thing is, everything is in place. We're not recreating the wheel. We're not let me say that again. We are not recreating the wheel. We are taking the laws that our founding fathers gave us and we're bringing them forward. That's all we're doing.
You either abide by law or you don't. Codes and statutes and all this corporate fiction of law is not really lawful.
Pitch the sign-in sheet.
If it's not inherent in the Constitution,
Right.
then it's not lawful.
If you talk like that, what you just said, if you talk like that, they're gonna come after you and put you in a box. I swear to God they will. The Patriot Act gives them the right to do that. You gotta understand, none of us are sovereign citizens. Zero. okay? Don't use that
The worst thing
word.
that ever happened, gave the government all the.
By the
time
way,
in
we
world.
got some extra time. If anyone wants to stay, we can keep rolling through this.
Oh, really? You need to get R.eel.E.
Now, I wanna talk briefly on sanctuary counties, okay? I don't know about here. in
I can
Michigan.
explain that. It cuts off funding if they violate your Second Amendment according to how they
Oh, okay.
determine.
Well, in Ohio, many counties got their county commissioners to do documents to say that they're a sanctuary county. And the documents that was drafted, you could, they was as good as wiping your butt with it. That's how, they were totally useless, okay? So I just wanted to make that remark, because a lot of these county commissioners got lawyers and drafted the document, and they were totally useless. And people that tried to get it, I mean, good intentions, but they didn't understand the law, and they got snookered. They got snookered.
Like I told Mike, I would love to
Well, this is what we're gonna
learn
do.
more about this, and if this is the way we have to go to bring our constitutional rights back, I'm all for it.
Let me ask you, to follow up with him, what I have talked with Michael about for this thing for probably a month and a half now, what appears to me to be the issue, everything's in place, like you said.
Oh, there.
The problem is, we have lacked enforcement upholding of these.
Right. There's a Supreme Court case called Williams versus USA,
Yes.
1992, majority opinion given by Justice Scalia.
Let me stop
Okay?
you for 1 second, please, before everybody leaves, please, the sign-up sheet's up here, make sure you put your name on it if you want to.
Hey, I wanna say
Okay,
something too
fair.
before everybody runs out. We're talking about sanctuary counties. We should also know that Hackle made us a sanctuary county to house the illegals.
Yes.
Of
So,
course.
most people do not know that.
Well,
There's a,
Well, it's here in the law, we're a refugee county, Hackle made us a refugee county. However, 0.1% of our immigration problems are refugees. So these counties that have became refugee counties are being used to hide illegals under the auspice that they're here as
So our-
and when you get rid of your county commissioners and you inject your people and you dissolve the corporation,
We gotta
that
break down
ends
the
all that.
corporations.
That ends all that. Okay, all those precedents, all those rules, all those
The only,
regulations.
the only way we restore America is to dissolve all the corporations, all the municipal corporations. That's the only way to do it. And the point is, it only takes about, Dave is gracious enough to help us. He's done this numerous times. We're in a very unique position in Macomb County. You have people that have resources and will to make a change. You have people that have been basically instructed by a higher power to do this, you know, and we're gonna do it. And so, this is not an option to do it any other way. We have to have the juror. So Terry, the idea would be, we get the committee of safety going, we form the militia in the next 45 days. We get it all ready, so that when we remove Sheriff Wickersham for treason, once we have our social compacts, once we serve presentment as sovereign, right, we remove him, then we just put you in. You're now the sheriff. That's how it works. That's how it's designed.
I hope you can do that, Mike, I really do.
But you need to be the one that's gonna take the task.
But the bottom line is, how are you gonna, who is gonna enforce what you're saying?
We the people are.
Okay.
So that's how it
I'm all
works.
for it. Mike, I was with Mike Flynn, he was talking the same type deal about going after all of the human trafficking. We have to have some type of enforcement. We have to have somebody that stands. Not just.
We the people, that's it,
Well,
Terry. I hate to break the news to you.
I agree with you, Mike, but we can't get people to vote people out of office that have been there forever.
Because they're all disenfranchised. They think there's no way out.
Well, I hope we can
And
do
what
it.
we
I really
have
do.
here is a way of freedom. But we have to have the discipline to do it. And I'll lead them, I'll be the one up front, I'll walk the way, I'll do it.
Hey, I got
When
four
I
kids
turn
as well,
around,
love break-ins, I'll die in the hill.
when I turn around, that's how I'm gonna do, stepping in and being ready, and I'll get my shotgun I bought at fire department, and I'll stand behind you.
When I'm done
You gotta be willing to do it, because when you swear we're not gonna have you swear, when you say, I'm gonna swear to the Constitution, you sign your name. You sign over. Now, you're our sheriff. End of story.
Well, it says somewhere, so you can copy it, remake it. I just forgot the name of it.
Thanks for coming, everybody, it gives me a lot of hope.
I don't know how it looks like, how do you make it?
Well, I'll probably just read it on the screen, so you're gonna remake the book.
Oh, so by the way, if you're ready to get going right now, to become a member, just put your checkbox in your name, so that we can call you first.
What do you guys do?
I don't know, you can find PDFs online of pretty much everything.
We're gonna go to Sugar Bush Tavern and get some food if you wanna join us.
Oh, yeah.
I'll definitely.